smiling. Is this on? Yeah. I'm smiling because I've had 3 dialogues publicly with Alan Dershowitz, Miami, Los Angeles, and New York City, and I asked him that exact question each time. At this point, however, I actually don't want him to become a Republican. He is infinitely more valuable to us as a liberal Democrat. So it reminds me, I'm taking a risk telling you this, but we're all adults, and I think whatever your feelings, truth is very powerful, and truth sets you free, my favorite line from the New Testament. A very prominent evangelical said to me, after a very long theological conversation, he said, you know, Dennis, the truth is, of course, we would love you to come to Christ, but you're infinitely more valuable to us as a Jew. So, in that sense, I would love Dershowitz to come to the Republican Party, but he's infinitely more valuable to us as a Democrat. The answer to answer you is, his answer is, oh, well, I still believe in the essential Democratic Party liberal positions that I grew up with, and then he goes through the litany, all of which, of course, we affirm. That's the joke. There wasn't one thing on the list that we don't affirm as conservatives. Here is the irony. Conservatives are the protectors of liberalism today. Yeah. We don't have a problem with others with different values. We have a problem, but we don't have a problem hearing them. We have at Prager University made videos with gays who have said on our video, like Dave Rubin, who have said, I am so much more better treated. I'm a liberal and I'm gay and I'm so much better treated by conservatives than by leftists. He's on record. He is not the only one. A guy wrote the son of a former congressman, big liberal Democrat in California, wrote the same thing. It was harder to come out to his family as a Republican than it was to come out among Republicans as gay. We are the open-minded. They are the closed-minded. This has to be registered each time. He remains, to answer you totally directly, my theory, it is an emotional commitment. I honor that, I understand it, that's fine with me, but there is no intellectual reason for someone who believes in liberalism today to support the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is a left-wing party. It may have once been liberal. Listen, Franklin Roosevelt, who is the adored man of Democratic history, of the Democratic Party's history, Franklin Roosevelt spoke regularly about protecting Western civilization and Christian civilization. His words. When President Trump didn't say Christian civilization, just said Western civilization in his speech in Warsaw last year, the New York Times editorialized that he was speaking on behalf of white supremacy. The entire left dismissed a call to protect Western civilization as a dog whistle to white supremacy. That's how bad it is.
I want to open up this question to the panel. One of the arguments that I get a lot at Fox News, liberals, the lefties will write in, and they'll say, "What right do you have to tell Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or Google? What right do you have to tell them what they have to put content on their pages?" Somebody want to take that one?
I'm going to have to leave in 10 minutes, so forgive me. I really don't. I love listening to you folks. There are a number of answers to that. First, there are legal precedents. If you claim to be a conduit for all views and you are not, there are judicial rulings against that. Number two, I would consider it a victory if in our courtroom adversarial positions, Google and YouTube announce, okay, it's true, we are not a conduit for views on the internet. we are essentially a conduit for left-wing views on the internet, that too would be a victory. It's the fraud that gets me. Their totalitarianism is given. All leftists since Lenin have been totalitarian. There is no non-totalitarian leftist in history. I studied communism at the Russian Institute under Zbigniew Brzezinski. My life's work has been studying the left. Liberals are open. Leftists have never been open. They're totalitarian. Let it be clear. Let the truth be declared. We have an agenda, and it is not the free conduit of ideas on the internet. It is to promote our progressive agenda. That too would be a victory.
I think for some conservatives there is this conflict of, well, we are for the private sector being able to do what they want to do. But to Dennis's point, they have held themselves out to be the virtual public square. And they are now the ticket takers saying who can come in and who cannot come in, and have sought a monopoly essentially to do that. And so as they are holding themselves out to be the virtual public square, it needs to be open to all ideas. And America is only strong, and America can only prosper when we have a free flow and free exchange of ideas. We've lost civility in our country, there's no question about it. We are a divided nation, but silencing one half of America is not going to bring peace, and it is not going to bring America together. It will only further divide America by repressing half of America in the thoughts and the expressions that they have. A very, very dangerous route for Americans to go.
And as Dennis said, there are legal precedents upon which we can build that case, and since there are, we must. And I think we have to take Sheryl Sandberg's opinion very seriously. She said when thinking about, and she disagreed with Twitter in their early decision to remove Marsha Blackburn's video. She said, when thinking about political speech, ads are really important. Should divisive or political issue ads run? Our Facebook answer is yes, because when you cut off speech for one person, you cut off speech for all people. The content is really important, but so are the ads. Her ability to get that message out, Marsha, does depend on having access to ads, which is why we allow issue-based ads even when they're hard. I think the responsibility of an open platform is to let people express themselves.
The YouTube position essentially is, as a private company, I can do commerce with anybody, whomever I want. Notice how it doesn't work both ways. If you're a cake baker and somebody walks into your shop and pronounces himself to be gay and wants you to bake a cake for a gay wedding, you can't decide that you want to ignore that commerce. You're going to be gone after by the government. It's remarkable. Free enterprise works one way, not the other way.
By the way, it's worth noting on that, that's a great point, as usual. By the way, Larry's made a PragerU video, and you would love
One of them has been censored, hasn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Which one was it?
I don't remember, because I don't know the 40 by heart. But you can go and see our petition, you'll see the 40. So, by the way, there's an automatic, we know this beforehand. Sometimes it's a real puzzle why they put some of our videos on the restricted list. But here is a given. It's very telling about what animates the left. If the video celebrates America or celebrates Israel, it is immediately put on the restricted list. That really gives you an idea of whom they truly loathe, America and Israel.
Wow.
And that, by the way, I think that there are transcendent reasons for that, but that's not the point here. I just want to make the point on the wedding cake. Those, I think a lot of you know, but everyone should know this. They had been baking for gay customers their whole lives. It is a non-issue to these people to bake for people who are gay or whatever they might be. It was to celebrate something they cannot believe in, and that is the marriage of two people of the same sex. They were asked to bake a cake for an event, not a person. So if you ever are confronted with this, oh, it's bigotry, well, wait a minute. Does a Jew have to bake an event for people who are having an event to honor Khomeini's call to destroy Israel? Does a Jewish baker have to bake an event? And that's now, I'm not comparing a gay wedding to destroying Israel. I am only comparing when people have a principle. It is not about the individual, it is about the event. And that is an important point for all of us who fight this fight to be aware of.
I want to talk about endgame and then solutions. What are some action points we can take? But what is the ultimate end game here? What does America look like if this organization, if national religious broadcasters, if other patriots do not take a stand? You know, just the other day, we had stories about a school banning To Kill a Mockingbird. They're banning The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. 2 days ago, I did a story at Fox News where the atheists want a children's Bible removed from a public school library. What are we looking at if we don't do anything, if we don't take a stand?
Can I just say, get some dimensions of how difficult this is going to be. There's a book called Left Turn, written by a professor who now teaches at George Mason University. He was at UCLA, but found that his positions were not particularly well received by his colleagues, and so he went to George Mason, where he is now. The book is called Left Turn. Of the top 20 sources of news information, only 2 of them are non-liberal: Washington Times and the Fox News Report with Bret Baier. Outside of that, everything else is New York Times, LA Times, CNN, MSNBC, all the major sources. But he was the first person to try to quantify what conservatives would call the damage done by the left-wing media. It's one thing to whine about it and complain about it and point out instances where there's blatant bias. It's another thing to say, what does this really mean in terms of how people vote? How does the media influence how people vote? And there are only a handful of cities that have 2 major newspapers. One of them is Washington, D.C. The Washington Times is right-wing. The Washington Post is left-wing. They found houses that never subscribed to the Times and offered them free subscriptions. They found houses that never subscribed to the Post, offered them free subscriptions, to find out, after they had read these papers for a period of time, would it change their voting patterns? And it did. Conclusion: if the media were truly fair and balanced, if people really got about half their media from conservative sources and half their media from liberal sources, the average state would vote the way Texas does, which is 8 to 10 points in favor of the Republican. This is the impact of the left-wing media on how people think, how people reason, and how people vote.
Well, I think the consequences are profound for our profoundest liberties. If we have no way to speak to the people and organize and vote and pass laws that will protect